Awesome, guys. How are you? I'm Shayan from Sobi Solutions, and today we have an honorable guest, Shayan Mahmud. He has a really extensive background in branding, digital marketing, brand placement, and brand positioning. Also, a strategic marketer as well. Shayan is a managing partner at Econ 7. He is managing director at he's a chief brand officer at Pro Pakistani. He's a CEO at TradeMove, one of the first Pakistani company which is working with Alibaba with direct sales. He is also one of the most fascinating fact about Shayan is that he is also a Forbes 30 under 30 winner as well, with a unique idea that he's going to share with us that how he created such a brand and which is already a strong position in the market. So this is what I know personally about Shayan, and let's discuss from Shayan what he has to share about himself and the company that he has created, and what are the thoughts of brand in today's world? Where does it lie, and what are the factors that are required for the brand to produce? So over to you, Shayan. Honored to listen to you today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Yeah, so Icon 7 is a creative agency. We do more full-fledged advertising agencies. We do everything sort of creative, digital, essentially. We do some traditional marketing as well, but primarily focused towards digital. The company was started 8 years ago. Actually, my partners, Gabriel and Irina Bernesco from Romania, they used to have an agency called Bad Cat for about 15 years before Icon 7. And then we sort of rebranded when I joined the company, and we sort of expanded from Bucharest to Pakistan. We do a bit of work in Dubai. We had an affiliate office in Kigali in Rwanda. And that's how Icon 7 started. Just a few interns, a couple of full-time employees in Pakistan. And we started from my house, and then, alhamdulillah, we sort of scaled from there. The second sort of section of it's not really a group of companies yet or something, but we don't have a better word for it, so that's what we call it. But Trademore was about 2-3 years into Icon 7. We got an opportunity to be Alibaba's partners here in Pakistan. So we set up another company called Trademore. Alhamdulillah, we scaled to 9 offices across Pakistan. We have offices in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi, Faisalabad, Multan, Sialkot, Peshawar, so across the country. Essentially what we do is we help manufacturers trade on Alibaba, and we've started working on Amazon as well now, Etsy as well. So we help them trade across the world. And then a few years after that, I was fortunate enough to meet my now partner and the founder of Pro Pakistani, Amirata, and he sort of wanted to bring us on, and me and some partners who invested in the business now run Pro Pakistani as well. Pro Pakistani is Pakistan's largest online independent publisher. We have 14 million hits a month. It started as a tech and telecom blog, but now we
So Ali, Shayan, you were talking about Pro Pakistani.
Yeah. So with Pro Pakistani, I was fortunate enough to meet my, the founder of Pro Pakistani and now my partner. And we're working in different industries now after our sort of collaboration partnership. We have a couple of other partners on board as well. And, we started in the tech and telecom space and sort of expanded into all sorts of areas, sports, real estate, obviously business. We're looking at international affairs now, so different. It's quite a inclusive sort of publication, and we hope to continue to grow it. There's a lot of potential in this space, and we're confident, inshallah, we'll continue to grow here.
Great, perfect. So Shayan, you said you were your Econ 7 was founded in Bucharest, right, Romania. I mean, how did you pitch your investors? I mean, what were the thought process when they thought, okay, so the Pakistani is trying to work with us, and what were their thoughts, and what did you try? How did you try to pitch in the whole business idea to them?
Yeah, honestly, so I was in Bucharest for an internship. I was still in university at the time in England, and I was also working on a Pakistani film when at the time it needed marketing. And I didn't really meet my partners for work. I met them through some friends at a restaurant. Gabriel, who's my partner, and me just sort of hit it off. He liked football. The World Cup was on, so we were hanging out, having a good time. It was nothing really to do with advertising or marketing at that time. And when the film came out, the Pakistani film, it was called Operation 021. I had to find an advertising agency for it. So I was looking or talking to different companies, and I couldn't find one. So I asked Gabby and Arena, to help me, and they started helping me, and they did some of the work on the film, and they were actually sort of we outsourced some of that work to them in the beginning, and it was very generic. It just sort of happened in the way that you know um, they were like, oh, Pakistan has a lot of scope for this stuff, and I was like, yeah. And they said, yeah, we should look into this. So I can't say for other people in Bucharest or even in the world. Like I was very fortunate. My partners were more interested in Pakistan at that time than I was. I was in England at the time, and they were sure that this is a market that's going to do well. And even though they had never been, they came a few months after that the first time while we set things up. But they saw the potential. They saw the market gap, and they thought that this is something that they wanted to do. And I was very excited by it. I didn't know anything about advertising, but I knew that I had good partners, and there was a good potential in this space.
So Shan, you were talking about Econ 7 and Bucharest.
Yeah, so yeah, it was different for me in comparison to maybe other people. I had partners with a lot of foresight. They saw a lot of potential in Pakistan. They saw a lot of growth here, and they were right. And I was very lucky in that way because it sort of just happened very platonically, and we had developed a trust and a bond and a relationship that had nothing really to do with work in the beginning. So it wasn't how other people, for example, meet for work purposes. So it was a little easier that way. They also saw the potential of branding here, something that I think अभी भी बहुत potential है to bring into the forefront. And yeah, and they thought that I was a good fit. Why they thought 23-year-old me was a good fit, I don't know. But that's what they thought, and that's how it sort of started. And yeah, so serendipity is a word in English. I think that probably defines this pretty well.
Okay, that's really impressive, John. John, many people have a conspiracy theory in their heads that they say that branding is dead in 2022. It's just all about, personas and different thought process every consumer has. As you being a digital marketing owner, you yourself a huge brand, right? So do you think branding is dead in today's world, or there are still some glitches of it that exists?
No, I think that the kind of communication is going to change. I don't think branding is dead. I don't think branding can be dead. And I'll explain. Branding is like your personality, um, and your values, and human beings, companies, organizations, people, countries. Everyone has a personality. Everyone has values. They can be different values, but they have values. People don't invest in companies, they invest in people or values or systems, cultures, brand, essentially. So that's never going to go away. I don't think that that's a conversation. It might evolve in the sense that I just feel like it pehle aise hota tha ki the world was structured in a way where, because of the mediums that we used, so the television, radio, print advertising, films for that matter, everything was a one-way conversation. one way in the sense that you would talk and you're on a sort of like a microphone and your voice would be heard. But it was a one-way conversation. It was very direct. That will change. That is not going to stay. That, in fact, I think that's already dying. If not dead, it's on the verge. I tell most of our clients this as well, and it's a very bad thing to say because I work in some of the direct form of advertising. Lekin it is what it is, and what it is that when is the last time that you were on social media and you saw an advertising, say, post from from a brand, a food brand, a telco, anything, and you were genuinely like you liked it or you went and you commented on it, etc. Things are evolving. People don't watch movies because of trailers. Yes, they do, but they also watch it because of what everyone else is saying, what the IMDb rating is, what Rotten Tomatoes thinks, what their favorite YouTuber thinks. What it's no longer what you say; it's what people say about you, and it's also a conversation. And if for example, I take this away from just your traditional advertising, and I give you an example of say politics, right? Before you would come on television at 7 p.m. as a politician or prime minister, president, etc., you would have a one-way conversation where you would say something to the television screen and hope to get your message across. That is not going to happen in the future. It's not going to be the same. Social media allows us to converse with our favorite celebrities, with politicians, with brands, and we want answers, right? We want solutions. We don't want narrative one way, and that'll be the same with brands. In the future, if say you run a coffee shop, I don't care that you think you have the best coffee. I don't care that you think that this is happening. I care what do other people feel about it. I care what I want to have this conversation with you. It's an outlet. This is why also all sorts of things exist. And your values. This time we were talking in the beginning about is branding dying. Your values are more important today than they ever were. For example, cancel culture. That's the thing, right? People are getting canceled. Why are they getting canceled? You couldn't cancel someone before. I've never heard of this, right? This is a new thing. And the reason you can cancel or uncancel someone is not based on their successes in their fields, it's based on their values, right? So, more and more human beings, because of social media, have the right to judge your brand. And पहले ऐसे होता था कि a brand like I don't know, Walmart, um, was not based on the characteristics of the people in Walmart. Now it is. Now everyone has to have a personal brand. Every brand is an accumulation or an amalgamation of all of the employees' personal brands that are attached to it. So it's a very complex, but it's not going anywhere. This is the future.
Great. So Shan, let's talk about some of the branding in the big joints like the MNCs. For instance, let's talk about Facebook to change their name to Meta, or we talk about Instagram, which is being acquired by Facebook, or Elon Musk acquired Twitter. Is there some kind of brand association related with it? Might be, or any kind of association that you think these brands have at their consumers' database?
So I think that the concept of uh, so just to understand the question, do you mean that the acquisition of, for example, Facebook acquiring Instagram, or I don't know, Musk acquiring Twitter, why are they doing it? Is that the question?
Exactly. I mean, is there any kind of brand perception related with those people as well?
Of course, of course. And I think if you look at it today, and I'm not being, I am neutral in a lot of these things, but I'll give you an example. Personal brands are now what presidencies are won on. You can dislike Donald Trump, and maybe I do as well, but you have to give him the personal brand that he's developed. You have to give him the credit for that. And same goes for a lot of other people and a lot of other companies. Elon Musk has a very strong brand, and that is equally as important as his companies, his intelligence, his net worth. In fact, it plays into it. Elon Musk decides values of brands based on his personal brand. He decides market shifts based on his personal brand. Um, and this will continue to happen. And the reason that Facebook is trying to acquire Instagram, or everyone is trying to acquire the next media, is because, sort of like, if I go into the broader scope of things, what's going to happen in the world is that machines, AI, technology, etc. I don't believe in this that, oh, AI will, run the world, or Terminator and stuff will happen. That's not going to happen. What's going to happen is a lot of things will be automated, which they're becoming more and more, right? Driverless cars, I don't know, like auto parking, and even down to, like, for example, right now, the work in advertising. My mother used to work in advertising. She used to, like, with a pencil, sketch the entire thing. They would draw it. They would make one. Each copy would be handmade. Today, you go on Illustrator, 5 minutes, done. In 10 years, there will be no Illustrator. You will literally have a machine that will be able to make the nitty gritty stuff all the time. Yes, there'll be an artist who does the real art form. Everything else will sort of, there's a software called copy.ai. I swear it writes as good copy as anyone else. It just does the job, and this will continue to happen. Strategy will matter, creative will matter, but the nitty gritty stuff, and this is not just true for advertising. I mean, everything. There will be very little labor work left, right? Everything will become automated eventually, because that's where we're going. In that world, the only thing that will ever matter is your ability to influence people. Because, you know and I'll give you an example. Say 500 years ago, the best soldier became king because he killed his way to the top, right? He was the best soldier you ever saw. That's not going to be the case. And I can prove that with, I'll give you an example. The biggest money fights recently have been between, and I'm talking about boxing right now, or general fighting sports, have been between the world heavyweight champions, and the other one is between YouTubers who have no boxing experience, who have no reason to be there, other than that they are famous and they have influence. Um, Trump had never won or run an election, never been a politician. It doesn't matter anymore. These things don't matter. Elon Musk may have no experience. Before, when you were buying a company, you had to show some sort of experience in the industry, right? You had to have, I don't know, created something similar, done something similar. Now that's not the case. Jeff Bezos makes movies. Elon Musk buys, wants to go to Mars, but also wants to buy social media platforms. It's influence. Influence will be everything. Brand will be everything, and that's because engineers and technology will eventually make everything else redundant.
True, Shan. Shan, but don't you think if this branding power is associated with someone who is more psychopath or someone is more negative minded towards the society, would still that be a conspiracy theory for the consumer who's trying to buy the end product?
Yeah, look, here's what I think. I think that being a student of propaganda, which is essentially the heart of marketing, right? What is a psychopath, or who is a psychopath? Only time can tell, right? So I'll give an example. Historically, Saddam Hussein was at one point considered to be a hero. Osama bin Laden was considered to be a hero. Hitler did not get that many votes, and fascism was not on the rise in the US, in the UK, all over Europe, for no reason. There was something he was saying that they liked, right? Now, the argument being, will there be evil people who will misuse this? Of course. Will we know which one is evil, which one's not evil? No. That's cancel culture, right? So you kind of have the ability to switch off who you think is a psychopath or evil or something. But to know this in advance is impossible. How do you know who is a dictator? How do you know who is a, or how do you know Elon Musk is not some evil genius, or I don't know, Bezos isn't? I don't know. I mean, no one knows. All I know is that the power will be there. Um, will it be misused? Of course. Branding was misused. The Ku Klux Klan was a brand. That's misusage of branding. Um, all sorts of the Nazi symbol. is one of the most famous symbols of all time. In fact, you could argue one of the most famous logos of all time. So misused, but the power is still the power, right?
True. Shayan, could you enlighten some of the factors that you think every brand has supposed to have in order to become a successful brand?
Yeah, sure. So I think first thing it needs to do is be genuine. Um, you can't. So a lot of clients that we work with as well, they come and they want to replicate a brand, or they want us to come up with a brand for them. That's not how it works. And the reason it doesn't work that way is because everyone has a voice, a unique way of being, a system that sort of works well for them. And until you don't tap into the values and the root cause or personality that's attached to brands, and that vision, that shared vision amongst the first few employees, the company in general, you can't make something special. So I would definitely say the most important thing is to be yourself, be genuine. And be genuine is sometimes scary for people because they're like, what do you mean? Right? So for example, you can't be a cool young hip brand if you aren't cool young and hip. And you can't be a, I don't know, traditional brand if you're not traditional. You have to pick what works well for you, and then sort of go from there. That's primarily, I think, the most important thing. Other than that, look, it's continuity, right? Continuity in the sense that there are so many mediums where people are going to listen to you now. You have to be on all of them. And you have to find, of course, there are different mediums where your target audience would be more. But eventually, you want to be everywhere. You want to be um, sort of synonymous with the values that you're trying to portray.
Okay, great. That's really that's something that every brand is supposed to have. Shayan, one last question before we turn down. Shayan, when you started your own venture, when you started, working with different brands, what was that one favorite quote, one favorite thing that has always been with you, and you think that every young hustler, young entrepreneur, or young businessman has to have in order to, grow and excel?
Um, hmm. So a quote that I like.
Anything, any quote, anything, any luck that you always had.
Sure, sure. Yeah. So there's some several of them that are coming to my mind, but I guess the first one that I really liked when I was a kid was by Martin Luther King. He says that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. So that always meant something to me because I think in the field that we are in, advertising and media, um, people become silent about the things that matter, and that I think is sort of our most important element that we bring, where we have to talk about the stuff that matters, because that's how people evolve, that's how people get better, that's how we grow.
Okay, that's not touching and that's really great. So thank you so much, Anne. I think these were the most of the questions that were asked before you come with us. So anything else you want to add, or any experience that you want to share with us regarding, about anything that you would like us to know about brand building? And
No, not really. I guess just one of the things, if I'm talking about young, people like me, I don't know if I still considered, I'm still considered to be young, but generally, I think, yeah, there's a very large potential in building the local brands of this country. And I think that used to affect me a lot when I was in England, or generally when you're abroad somewhere. Um, we don't have an IKEA. We don't have anything that we sort of like. Khadi, I guess, is a good example, maybe. Um, and the brands of tomorrow will not just be built by, of course, there'll be entrepreneurs who build fantastic things, but they're going to need people who market those values well. And a lot of people in Pakistan that are in the advertising space either switch primarily towards engineering, software development, or sometimes they leave the country. Yeah, and I understand it's an ungrateful industry and it's a tough industry to be in, but the way I think about it, we have a responsibility as Pakistanis to sort of build our country up, build our brands up, build our face value, to the rest of the world. And somebody has to do it, right? I feel like we've been passing the buck from one generation to another, and that's not going to work.
Great, Jan. That's a lovely saying. All the best to Econ 7 Pro Pakistani and to you. And God bless you. More power to you. Thank you so much, Jan, for sharing your expertise, your knowledge with us.
Thank you.
The snippet is gonna be live in next 24 hours, and the video is gonna be taken care of it within the same time frame.
Sounds good.
And so thank you, Shayan. Thank you so much for coming up. It was really an honor. So thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.